Hello everyone, we are Depth Consulting and our task was to improve the workstation design of the dip glazing process for a tile company, and this project was for IOE 463. A little background about the company: it has a total of about 30 employees and they make a variety of tiles. There are many processes for making a tile, but we are specifically focusing on the dip glazing process. The dip glazing process is dipping a tile into a bucket and having glaze on top of the surface. The workstation is shown here.
This is a video of the dip glaze process. Immediately prior to this, the worker first lightly sprays the tiles with water. Now the worker dips the tiles in the bucket and places it in the metal pan. He repeats this until the trays are full. Then he changes gloves and walks around to the second step of the process. The next step is to wipe the backs of the tiles and place them on a flat tray. After this, the worker then loads the trays onto the cart. Each tray holds between 15 and 20 tiles. The tile company typically receives orders of 200 tiles at once or more. Now you can see him loading the tiles now onto the tray, and he has to bend for the lower ones and he also has to reach for the higher ones.
We used three methods of data collection. First, we recorded the process and performed a time study on the recording. Next, we created a SketchUp model of the workplace. After that, we conducted a MODAPS analysis of the current process. Here are time study results. For dipping, the physical action of dipping the tile had a normal time of 4.5 seconds, while spraying the tiles before dipping them has a normal time of 17.2 seconds. This part of the process is outside of the scope of our project. Walking had a normal time of 5.8 seconds. For drying the tiles, setting two tiles at a time has a normal time of 4.4 seconds, while bringing the tiles to the rack has a normal time of 11.5 seconds.
Here is our SketchUp model of the current workstation with a 95% male, but we'll turn that off for now. Here we have the first rack where we bring the tiles onto the table. Once we bring the tiles onto the table, we dip them into the bucket and place them onto the metal trays. Once we let them dry off a little bit, we bring them to the other side of the table to another tray and then bring them to the metal rack. Here we can see the 95% male reach limits.
Here is our MODAPS analysis. We won't go into too much detail, but as you can see, walking takes 5.81 seconds, and bringing the tray to the rack and walking back takes 4.98 seconds. These are the two longest times, and these two areas will be what we focus on for our recommendations. We have two recommendations. Our first recommendation is that they remove walking around the table and instead have the worker step to the side. This takes 1.29 seconds and will save 4.5 seconds per cycle. Our second recommendation is to bring the second rack closer to the worker. This recommendation will take 1.9 seconds and will also save 3 seconds per cycle.
Here is a SketchUp model of our recommendation. We can see that the process is much more linear and the worker stays on one side of the table. So again, the process is we bring the tiles from the first rack onto the table, then dip the tile, then bring it over to the tray, metal trays to dry, and then once we have them dry, we bring them over to the second rack, which is much closer now. Here is a 95% average male reach limit, and now they don't have to walk as far to the next workstation. Here is a last look at our recommendation, and that is our presentation. Thank you guys very much, and any questions?